What's good? Appreciate you for pulling up to P Soci Studio. My name is Perry, aka P Soci, the people's designer, photographer, videographer, etc. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my first year working full-time with Columbia University football. So yeah, let's go back 2 years. Spring of 2023, I graduated from Boston University with a BFA in graphic design and a minor in arts leadership. And so post-grad, I already knew that I wanted to work at the intersection of creativity and sports. Working in sports it's very competitive. I actually, had even gotten an interview with the Chicago Bulls and Philadelphia Eagles, but I didn't make it past, that first round of interviews for either of those opportunities. And so I kind of, was thugging it out a little bit, I guess, first year freelancing here and there. And I also actually started a clothing brand with my boy Jake. Shout out Jake. We started a brand called HomeCrowd Threads, and we essentially make sports related merchandise and also collaborate with athletes to make merch. So hey, if you're an athlete watching this and you want to tap in, just hit me up. But I already had some experience working in sports. While I was at BU, I had a internship with BU Athletics my freshman year, and I also interned with Harvard football my sophomore year and my senior year. But yeah, for me, in terms of the Columbia job, honestly, it was an opportunity that kind of, I don't want to say fell in my lap, because the context behind it, me getting this opportunity, it goes to show that you never know what previous opportunities can lead you to your next opportunity, or what previous kind of just life experience or people that you meet can lead you to your next opportunity. So like I mentioned before, I interned with Harvard football two separate times while I was an undergrad at BU. So the first time was my sophomore year, 2020, during COVID. So that was a remote internship. And so the way that I got the internship my sophomore year was because there was this girl that was a couple years older than me in the design program named Morgan. So big shout out to Morgan because she actually interned at Harvard football, I think the previous year. And so she had just posted on her story hey, Harvard's looking to hire an intern, reach out to me if you're interested. So then I reached out to her, and then she ended up connecting me with Coach Poppy, who is actually now the head coach of Columbia football. So very, very, full circle for me there. You never know where any sort of relationship will lead you or be able to connect you to where you're trying to go, because me getting that internship my sophomore year is what helped me to run it back with Harvard my senior year. And so for that year, my role was, again, working on recruiting graphics. This time I was actually working with Coach Mannion, who's also now at Columbia. And yeah, I would go on game days and, do photo and video, only home games. I didn't travel with the team. And then another coworker that also was at Harvard is Miss Sarah, and she's now at Columbia as well. So as you can see, the connections are building up. And so Sarah is actually the one that reached out to me about the opportunity or the opening at Columbia once they found out that their previous designer or creative was going to be leaving for another opportunity. And so she reached out to me literally a year ago around this time, second week of August, and was hey, I don't know if you're on the lookout for a job or anything, but yeah, we just ended up getting an opening, so I think you should apply. And I was yes, I actually am in fact looking for a full-time job. Obviously having that familiarity with Coach Poppy, Coach Mannion, and Sarah, I think helped me to getting hired and everything. So it was a pretty short turnaround time. They ended up hiring me, I think literally within the next couple weeks, and then I moved to New York very first week of September. And honestly, I was very, very excited about that, not only for the fact of getting to work with the football team, football being my favorite sport, and getting to create around that, but just being in New York in general. I'm just very thankful. I feel it was a pretty easy transition, given the fact that I obviously already knew people on staff, and also my roommates were super helpful in me, transitioning. Yeah, just really helping me become acclimated quickly, just so I could, be integrated with everything and, get going for, week one. But yeah, I guess now I'll talk about, in general, how the season went for Columbia. So I know as I was doing kind of my research on Columbia football, I mean, historically, like we've not really been, the best of teams in the Ivy League. And then we ended up winning, the Ivy League championship. For my first season, coming in, for us to have the season that we had, and to have so many highs. I mean, obviously, there were some lows, but I think to have so many highs was just like, I couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, obviously, it's a lot more fun working when, when the team is winning, the vibes are good. Like, obviously, as a creative, that allowed me to capture lots of great content. But now I can kind of talk a little bit more about like what I actually like had to do coming into the job. My position title is social media / graphics assistant. So I literally, like, whatever graphic needs, from recruiting to just posting on socials, on Instagram, Twitter, etc. I would kind of, take care of that. And then in terms of like weekly schedule, like, practice in like the afternoon, and then upload, pictures from that day in the evening, and then kind of get back to it the next day. And then Fridays were a little bit more chill. It's like a walkthrough day, because most of the time game day is on Saturday. I mean, the schedule would shift a little bit if we had a Friday game or whatever, but then game day is always fun, because that's when you get to capture those super fun, exciting, crazy moments. And it's like you never know what's going to happen, because obviously practice, it's kind of like a routine, kind of the same thing is going to happen from week to week. But game day, it's unpredictable. During game time, for the most part, I'm focused on video, because we have a lot of other photographers taking photos, but not as many on the video side. So definitely very important to capture as much video as possible on ground, on the field, to make post game highlight videos and etc., just to have like good content to post throughout the week leading up onto the next game. And then obviously video content that can be used in the off season. One of the super fun parts too about game days is for like the away games, getting to travel with the team, because I mean, in Ivy League, we're playing UPenn and Philly, or last season at least, we played UPenn and Philly, we played Harvard and Boston. Where else was, we played like Brown and Providence, played Georgetown and DC. So it was cool to like be able to go to these other cities as well. Like when we played UPenn Philly, like my parents came to the game. They got to see me, running around on the sideline with my camera and everything. That's another just cool aspect, getting to travel and see a little bit, of the area that we're in when we travel. Like when we went to Boston, I got to see my boy Malak. Shout out to my guy. And then even honestly, just playing at the Harvard Stadium was low-key surreal experience too, having like intern there, just being back there, but on the opposing side. And another thing about that too, that I just think is just like so wild, is that like I was looking back at old photos from when I was, taking photos at Harvard, and when we played Columbia, like there's guys that were, currently that were on the team last season that were, in the photos that I took while I was at Harvard. But it's like, thinking back to that time, like I'm like, they were like, I don't want to say they were nobody to me, because that's crazy, but like, I mean, I didn't know who they were. I mean, to me, it's just like they were just the opposition. They were just, I don't know who any of these guys are. But then now that I obviously, work with the team, I'm looking back at those photos, I'm like, yo, there's Carter McFadden on the punt return, like all these like Columbia guys that at the time, like 2 years before, I had no idea who they were. And then 2 years later, it's like now I'm with them every day, practice, getting to know them. Like that's just another like very interesting aspect. And then besides, obviously capturing stuff of our current players, one of my other really big duties in the position was working with the recruits. So I was in charge of taking photos anytime we had recruits come in. And so this was kind of also a little bit of a new experience for me. Like I don't have as much experience in more so like studio photography, posing, lighting and all that, so it's kind of like having to learn a little bit of that on the fly, and just kind of keep tweaking things to make it better as the season went on. But yeah, it got to the point, I think, like in terms of like the photo shoot stuff, that I became pretty like efficient with the poses and all that. I'll be like, all right, cross your arms, point towards the camera, hit a flex, again, like your position stance, things like that. So kind of, over time, it started to become more like muscle memory, with the photos, with the photo shoots, and, always want to try and have fun with it. I think one thing, like I'll always start out with, with like the basic poses, just to, make sure we have like a good amount. And then I always, try and find out, if we can get the recruit to do poses that really kind of amplify who they are as a person. Like, if you're a big selly guy, like one of my favorite ones I did last season was a recruit that he had like a little like dance. He was, but I'm not gonna ask somebody who's not a dancer to do a dance, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, recruit shoots, they've been fun, and yeah, hopefully, upcoming season we'll add some, spice up the poses even more and everything. But yeah, that pretty much covers like what I did in terms of my role as a social media / graphics assistant. And then going actually to after the season, I ended up being promoted to director of just creative content and social media in general. I appreciate obviously Coach Poppy, for trusting me to kind of just take over socials and just continue with the creative content stuff. My goal at the end of the day is to elevate, these players as much as I can, make them as visible as much as I can, and the program obviously as well. But yeah, that's always my prerogative, make these guys look as cool as possible, make Columbia look cool as possible. And yeah, again, I cannot overstate my gratitude for, just being able to be in the position where I'm at, where I'm getting to, work and do what I love, what I love doing in New York City. That's which is honestly the cherry on top. Like, it's a city that makes it like very easy to, meet new people, make connections, and yeah, honestly, I just love the vibe in the city. Everyone's on their grind, on their hustle, and also, it's just cool for me because I have like, friends from BU that are in the city now that I get to spend time with, and then also kind of growing my community a little bit, the Columbia community, lots of amazing people there as well. So just very appreciative overall of, getting to be in New York and, at this stage of my life. And I'm just, looking forward to, getting to know my new home a little bit more. I want to, get to know some of like the more low-key spots in the city. And then gatekeep. So I'm just kidding, I'm not going to gatekeep, but yeah, I think it'll just be cool to just get to know New York more, because there's honestly, it's unlimited it's unlimited stuff that you can discover in the city. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to just making some more fire content. Yeah, we got to do better than we did last year, you know what I'm saying? Always gotta, the mentality is always, we don't gotta be, we're not shooting for perfection, we're always shooting for excellence. That's always my motto. And excellence is doing the right thing consistently every time, and just trying to get better. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I think I'll make another video just kind of talking about my favorite projects from year one. But yeah, like I always say, much love, Ate Sway. Remember to stay fresh and stay further, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.